All right, it's great to see so many attendees hopping on right now. We'll probably give it another minute or two as people hop on before we get started. All right, I think we can get started then. Thank you all for joining today. Um, this is the applicant briefing webinar for our new solicitation with the National Offshore Wind Research and Development Consortium, Innovations in Offshore Wind Solicitation 3.0. And in this webinar, we'll be going over some of the key things that applicants need to know for this solicitation. So just to get started with welcome and introductions, I'm Corey Grunwald. I'm a senior program manager at NowRDC, and then we'll also be hearing from Roger Townsend, innovation lead for energy at Innovate UK. A couple of additional notes. So all the attendees are in listen-only mode. We encourage you to submit questions through the Q&A box throughout the presentation, and then we'll get to the Q&A portion at the end of the webinar. These slides and a recording of this webinar will be posted on our website within a week. And then also for all of the information included here, we really encourage you to review the RFP that's located on our website on the solicitation page. All of the proposal information will be detailed in much more depth there. So yeah, to get started with our agenda, we'll start with an introduction to NowRDC. We'll give an introduction to Innovate UK. We'll go into the solicitation 3.0, so what the challenge areas are, what the application materials are, and the eligibility parameters. An introduction to the B2 Match platform, which is how you can start partnering with UK-based offshore wind researchers. A couple of additional announcements, and then we'll go into Q&A. So yeah, for anyone who's not familiar with NowRDC, we are a nationally focused not-for-profit organization that collaborates with industry to fund prioritized R&D activities. Our mission is to accelerate the deployment of offshore wind energy in the US, address challenges and obstacles facing the offshore wind industry, and maximize economic and social benefits, and then also reduce the levelized cost of energy of offshore wind. We do this through a few core activities. So first, we fund innovation that's directly responsive to the technical and supply chain barriers faced by offshore wind project developers in the US. We convene strong networks that connect technology innovators, research institutions, project developers, supply chain companies, utilities, and state and federal government agencies. And then we also work to increase US content and job opportunities. This is our membership and our board of directors. As you can see, it spans government and utilities, the offshore wind developers that are active in the US, and then also some independent offshore wind industry members like supply chain companies and national labs. And now I'll pass it to Roger to introduce Innovate UK.
Corey, thank you very much, and hi everybody. It's really great to be here and working again jointly with NowRDC. In fact, we worked with NowRDC back in 2020, and it's really good to be working with the organisation again and US innovators. I'm Roger Townsend. I'm an innovation lead. I work at Innovate UK. Next slide, please, Corey. So Innovate UK is part of UK Research and Innovation. It's comprised of 8 research councils. Those research councils work funding academic-led innovation, and Innovate UK funds business-led innovation, albeit that business-led innovation, we can also support academic partners as well through grant funding. So we're investing actually over 8 billion now per annum, collectively through Innovate UK and UKRI, on those research topics that are really important for us. We're sector and technology agnostic. Next slide, please, Corey. So our mission, so we're the UK's innovation agency. As I mentioned, we create R&D programs that are business led, and the purpose of that is to drive productivity and economic growth by supporting those businesses to develop and realize the potential of their great ideas. And in this case, we're working collaboratively on offshore wind. Next slide, please, Corey. So we firmly believe that innovation is at the heart of the UK's future growth and prosperity. We know that innovation accounts for up to 50% of productivity increase, and businesses that continually and consistently invest in R&D have greater productivity and are more likely to export and generate growth. And we see this as a great opportunity to help the US grow in offshore wind, but also to for the UK and its innovation ecosystem to play a part in that growth in the US. Next slide, please, Corey. And as it's kind of business focused innovation, we really try to create impact. This slide's a little out of date, and apologies for the formatting there. But for that investment, we're really trying to create impact in terms of that composite metric top right. For every pound of R&D investment, actually it's more than £8 of value back, whether you measure that in new jobs, growth of new propositions brought to market, or indeed for the wider economy. So it's something that we're proud of, but we need to do more. And clearly, next slide, please, Corey. I think this collaboration, this partnership with NOAADC, I'm really excited about it. I think the US offshore wind market is really prime for growth, and we want to play our part in helping that, and at the same time leverage that those opportunities through this joint solicitation. So that's all from me. I'm going to be here for the remainder of the call. If you have any questions in regard to Innovate UK or our competition document. But back to you, Corey, and thanks again for inviting me to speak on your session.
Thanks so much, Roger. Okay, now we can get into the challenge areas that are included in the solicitation. So to start off, challenge area number 1 is solicitation or solutions to facilitate offshore wind resiliency and transmission coordination. There's a couple of key goals here, and then there's examples of specific technologies that could fall under these topics. So development and demonstration of solutions that improve offshore wind power reliability, such as voltage control, frequency response, and black start and grid forming capability. Then there's development and demonstration of innovations in coordinated transmission solutions that optimize efficiency across multiple large projects, minimize environmental impacts, and conform with onshore grid constraints, such as shared cable landfall, offshore backbone and meshed grid, dynamic array cables, or dynamic export cables. Then there's development and demonstration of solutions for integration of long duration energy storage with offshore wind, such as feasibility studies on the techno-economic analysis of differing energy storage solutions with offshore wind, such as hydrogen, thermal storage, pump storage, etc. Joining up the physical requirements of the offshore wind energy storage system with policy, market, dispatchability, and digital arrangements. Energy systems level modeling for offshore wind energy storage integration and consideration of demand side response, and then also energy storage integration technologies with offshore wind development, considering the turbine, farm, and onshore network options. Next, we have operations and maintenance systems development. So technologies and strategies that advance the effectiveness, cost efficiency, and safety of O&M, such as comparative assessments of O&M requirements and considerations associated with different substructure designs, technologies to improve offshore wind turbine component health monitoring, including corrosion monitoring and management, offshore wind turbine digital twin development and application in practice, robotic inspection technologies and integration into practice, innovations and/or assessment opportunities to address technical and efficiency challenges associated with large-scale offshore wind build-out in deeper water and at greater distances from shore. Then also technologies and strategies that advance operations and maintenance supply chain development and flexibility, such as programmatic assessment for implementation of ocean-based testing and validation of approaches and technologies for O&M, techno-economic analysis of port and vessel upgrades specifically for O&M purposes. Then the third challenge area is innovation to facilitate ocean area coexistence. So this really involves technology concepts that reduce offshore development and operational impacts on the marine biosphere, such as technologies that reduce noise impacts, mooring line sensors for detection of secondary entanglement, marine growth, and line failure, AI tools and other technology that improves detection of wildlife in offshore wind areas, technology solutions that mitigate and reduce interactions with federally managed, protected, and endangered species in their habitats, and process or technology solutions to coordinate and integrate fisheries, wildlife monitoring, and assessment. A special note for proposals in this category, research projects in this category are encouraged to follow the Regional Wildlife Science Collaborative and Responsible Offshore Science Alliance recommendations for regional research coordination. And they can do this by providing appropriate project updates to RWSC and ROSA advisory groups, including their project information in regional research and technology databases, and drafting data management and sharing plans that support regional collaborative research. Another important note for this area is that NOWRDC does not fund baseline scientific research. So then moving on to application materials and eligibility. So this is the joint solicitation process that we're going to be running. So US and UK-based offshore wind researchers will partner to design a project focused on one of those solicitation topic areas I just mentioned. And then they will apply to distinct application processes. So the US side of the project will apply to our NOWRDC RFP. This is all linked on the solicitation page on our website. Then the UK side will apply to the Innovate UK competition and go through those distinct processes. We will then run separate but coordinated scoring processes and ultimately come together to select projects for award, with the US-led part of the project being funded by NOWRDC and the UK-led part of the project receiving funding from Innovate UK. These are the key dates of the competition. So we just opened the competition. Questions for us are due November 10th. We'll post answers to these questions on our website. Then the full submission date is January 10th in 2024. We aim to issue award notifications in March 2024, and then go through the steps of project setup and contracting. As you're forming your project, all projects must fit within one of these three categories or be a multi-phase project spanning more than one of these categories. So to start, we have category A, technical feasibility studies. These are aimed at preliminary research into concepts that might underlie new products, systems, or strategies. And they might serve as a first stage of development to see if a promising concept is really feasible in the offshore wind market. Then the next stage that's, a bit more developed is new product, system, service, or strategy development. So this is really developing a marketable product, system, strategy, or any testing or validation needed for an innovation that's not already commercially available. Then the kind of more advanced stage would be category C, demonstration of technology, systems, or services. So this is aimed at really demonstrating and testing an innovative offshore wind technology system or strategy, or something that's maybe already gone through product development but just needs a bit of validation to be deployed in the US and gain industry acceptance. This can include hardware, software, and market development initiatives. And then multi-phase project proposals, so say category A and B together or category B and C together, those are considered as well. So then there's a few guidelines here that you should keep in mind while you're developing your proposal. So first, geography. Proposals are welcomed from all geographic locations within the United States. Additional eligibility parameters are outlined in the RFP. One note on geography, though, you're welcome to apply from all geographic locations within the United States. However, the focus of the project should apply to US offshore wind development and specifically to the funding states that are participating in the solicitation, and that would be Maryland, Massachusetts, and New Jersey. Also, projects are expected to begin as soon as feasibly possible within a project schedule. There are project schedules listed for each of those project phase categories I just listed. Another note is that to increase the likelihood of successful commercialization, project teams are strongly encouraged to engage an end user, such as an offshore wind developer or a key member of the offshore wind supply chain. So we really recommend reaching out to the end user of your project, of your technology that's being developed in the project, during the project. Then also proposals must state the existing technology readiness level of any technology being proposed and what the expected TRL will be at the end of the proposed project. Just a few notes on cost sharing. So there is that required partnership with a UK-based entity in which they'll be receiving Innovate UK funding. But aside from this, proposers are not required to provide any form of cost share. However, it is recognized that for projects such as demonstration projects, project team members may wish to provide additional funding or in-kind contribution to maximize the benefit of the project. Proposers are also encouraged to provide any indication of additional funding or in-kind contribution that will be used to support the delivery of a project. And then moving on to documenting project benefits. So kind of building on some of the guidelines listed before, this is what will help you make a really strong proposal. So just establishing the potential benefits clearly and credibly, assessing potential impact on levelized cost of energy using a credible, demonstrable methodology, and where relevant, proposals can claim project benefits by providing an explanation of how their outcomes will reduce uncertainties and risks in offshore wind plant development, installation, and or operations, and or the costs associated with health and safety during the life cycle of the project. Also, all proposals shall provide an explanation of how the proposed project can have a positive impact on advancing the offshore wind supply chain to the benefit of US companies. We really recommend including a strong commercialization strategy. So how you're going to take what you do in this project to the market. And then also using letters of commitment or interest when applicable. How proposals are evaluated. So in the NowDC process, each proposal is scored on a scale of 100, and the following weights are applied to project benefits and value, innovation and state of the art, project plan, scope, risks and challenges, and then team experience and capabilities. We have a lot in our RFP on what each criteria means and how these criteria are scored. We really recommend reviewing this in depth. And then we have these application materials. So all of the applications have to fill out these following documents. Depending on the category you select for your project, there might be several additional documents, but this is all outlined very clearly in the RFP. So definitely cross-reference that before you begin pulling together your application. Just a few notes on, these application materials that will apply to all of the projects. So attachment A, the proposal narrative. This is where you'll summarize the project and also answer specific questions regarding project benefits. Then there's attachment B1, the statement of work. This is where you'll document exactly what you'll do in the project milestone by milestone. So what the full scope of work is for the project in chronological format. Then there's attachment B3. This is a spreadsheet calculator in which you'll answer questions about your technology and your project to determine the technology readiness and commercial readiness levels. Then there's attachment C1. This is the milestone payment schedule where you'll propose budget amounts for each of the milestones you documented in the B1 statement of work. Then we have attachment D, the budget justification, where you'll go in and say exactly how the proposed budget will be spent. Then there's attachment 2, the applicant assumption of risk form. So yeah, just depending on the project category you select, there are other documents required, such as the business model canvas and the 3-year financial projection worksheet. Again, we strongly encourage you to review the RFP for full details on what applies to your project. And we also encourage you to look through each of these documents in advance so that you'll be able to estimate in advance how much time it will take to pull together the full application. Yeah, then introduction to the B2 Match platform. So this is how you can partner with a UK offshore wind researcher. The B2 Match online platform is your opportunity to form a collaboration. So essentially, it's an online platform linked on our solicitation page where you can post a profile about your innovation, your project, and the type of organization you would like to collaborate with. You can say what your research expertise is and things like that. And then you can take the collaboration forward with people you're interested in partnering with by online meetings or by email. We really encourage you, if you're looking to make more connections with UK offshore and researchers, to set up a profile on here and just see what types of connections you can make. Then, since we have you all here, we'd like to make a couple quick additional announcements. So we have our annual symposium coming up. This is a hybrid event happening in person at the NYU Tannen School of Engineering, and also it will be live streamed. It'll be taking place December 4th and 5th in 2023. This is a really great event that brings together Nowadays offshore wind R&D project principal investigators, and then also host a few network opportunities and keynote talks from industry leaders. Really, it's just a comprehensive overview of what our project portfolio is working on to deliver the next generation of innovations in offshore wind. It's a great networking opportunity and also just really gives a comprehensive overview of what technical challenge areas there are in the US offshore wind industry right now and how these technical innovations can provide solutions. So we encourage you to register for that. And then also just a note that we will be running our next solicitation in 2024 in collaboration with the California Energy Commission. So stay tuned in 2024 for the next solicitation that we'll be running. Now I think we can move on to Q&A. So we really encourage you to submit some questions in the question box now. I think we already have a few, so we can get to them now. So I think some people may have joined late and missed this, but will slides and recordings be available after this call? yes, both the slides and the recording of this webinar will be posted on our website um, within the next week. So then another question asking to elaborate more on multi-phase project proposals. Are you referring to a project proposal composing several phases and each of these phases focusing on a different category? Yes. So if you're proposing a project in which you want to um, develop, say, a system and then also demonstrate it, that would be category B and C in our funding categories, and that would constitute a multi-phase project proposal. So if you're thinking of a project that spans multiple of those categories listed prior and listed in depth in our RFP, that would constitute a multi-phase project proposal. So the next question, can US applicants identify a proposed UK partner in their application? Yes, so you actually will be required to identify a proposed UK partner in your application and also provide a summary of this project that will be led by the UK partner. So in addition to identifying the UK partner, you'll be describing what they'll be working on, what their expertise is, things like that. All the questions in this are in that attachment A proposal narrative document. So that's where you'll see what you need to answer in regards to that. So then the next question, if the UK applicant is a for-profit entity, would an academic US partner be acceptable? So I don't think we have any, we don't have any eligibility parameters on what type of US partner you need based on who the UK partner is. I know there are eligibility criteria for each, but they're not tied to each other. So I'll let Roger weigh in on if there's any specific UK applicant eligibility parameters that would apply to that. But academic US partners are eligible.
Corey, thank you. Just to kind of summarize the kind of what we're trying to do here, we're trying to create a collaboration between UK innovators and US innovators. We each, now ADC and Innovate UK, have specific requirements for what those projects look like. So one example would be in the UK, project must include a small and medium-sized entity. But in terms of how the UK and the US partner chooses to construct that integrated project that includes both UK and US activity, there are no specific requirements around that other than the key thing, certainly from my perspective, and certainly from now ADC's as well, is does this collaboration make sense? Is it adding value? Why does this project really leverage the skill sets both in the UK and the US? So that's kind of where we're driving at in terms of those project teams. So aside from the UK project requiring an SME, the SME could work alone in the UK and then partner with any type of organisation, as long as the UK project and the US project is fitting with the requirements of our respective solicitations. So the UK solicitation or competition document on our Innovate UK website, or the RFP that is on the solicitation page for now ADC.
Great, thank you, Roger. And the next question, so we talked through the application materials. Are the same application materials needed for the Innovate UK Partners application, or is it a different set of application materials? Yes, it is a different set of application materials. So as I outlined in the process slide earlier, the US-based applicant will apply through the NowRDC process, and then the UK-based applicant will lead their application process through the Innovate UK competition. So I think a lot of the same questions will be asked around, what the scope of the project is, who the project team is. You know, at its core, we're trying to assess the same project in its entirety, but it is a separate process, and there are, differences in the specific questions and forms and submission requirements. So yeah, I think I encourage you to go into our process if you're based in the US, and to have your UK partner go into their process in advance to see exactly what's required. So then, um, another question, if there is expected to be a division of successful projects between the three challenge areas. Um, so I think maybe this question is asking about whether there will be projects awarded in each of the three challenge areas. I think we are not required to um, award projects in each of the challenge areas. I think we will probably take a portfolio approach though, where we ensure that we're not awarding two projects that are duplicative of each other and focused on the exact same thing. We will go through our scoring process though and rank projects according to those scoring criteria listed. So projects will be scored um, from 0 to 100, and projects that score above 70 mean that they meet the quality threshold. They'll be ranked, and then we'll go through that process in collaboration with Innovate UK to then award the highest scoring projects. So another question on if there's guidance on the expected award size or the size of the total funding pot, um, as well as an estimated number of awarded projects. So there are eligibility parameters for budget in the RFP. So depending on the project category you select, for the Now RDC side, there's a cap on the total budget you can propose. So that's where you should look to determine the budget for your project. There are caps on that. The size of the total funding available is approximately $5 million. And we currently do not have an estimated number of awarded projects. Yeah, that will be determined once we go through the scoring process. Then another question, in the go to market section, do we need to demonstrate a strategy to go to market with the UK partner, or do we only need to address it for our own company? I would say in the go to market section, when you're talking about how you're going to commercialize what you're working on in your project, I think it really depends on the technology you're proposing in your project and what the project team you have um, pulled together is working on. I think it's difficult to make a blanket answer to this, but I think it depends on what is going to be most effective for the technology you're working on. There's no requirement that both entities go to market together. I think as long as you propose a strong strategy in which the technology reaches the market, that's more what we're focused on. Then a question on what exactly it means to have a limit of 3 unique proposals per proposer. Is the proposer in this context a person or a department or an institution? So that depends. For an institution, there's a limit of 3 proposals from that institution. So that could be across different people. However, yeah, there is that cap. However, if an individual is applying as an individual or from, um, individual-led company, something like that, then that might apply to the person. I encourage you to maybe reach out via email to clarify if you have a specific scenario in mind. Then another question on application eligibility. If an organization has been the awardee of a previous round of a NowRDC RFP or PON, would the terms and conditions apply to the negotiation of an award if selected for this round? So I guess first on eligibility, if you have been awarded in a previous NowRDC solicitation, you are eligible to apply again. The terms and conditions listed in the RFP are what would be the starting point of a negotiation for an award. Then a question on geographic eligibility. So must the project show an exact location in one of the states funding the solicitation? Again, that's Maryland, Massachusetts, or New Jersey, where the project can be completed. So this is not required. I think the key thing we're looking for is that the project is applicable to the offshore and challenges that are being faced by these states. Then a question on what the project duration is for an award. So this goes back to the categories that were listed earlier. So depending on the category you select for your project, there are specific recommendations in the RFP on what the time range can be for that project. So I encourage you to go in there and review the month timeline that you can build your project within. Then a question again for Roger, wondering if you can confirm again that UK partners must be subject matter experts, or subject matter experts only preferred, yeah, for I think certain types of application.
Yeah, sorry, I'm struggling to find that question in the Q&A. I'm not sure I fully understand the question. Could you repeat that, Corey?
I think the person is wondering if UK partners must be subject matter experts.
It's an interesting question. What we're looking for is a compelling integrated R&D proposal. I guess by implication they will be experts in their fields for, who can demonstrate, those people that are applying can demonstrate why their innovation is worth funding, how they can deliver their innovation objectives during the project, and also from an Innovate UK perspective, demonstrating that as you say, the go-to-market, or in our words, exploitation, there's a kind of a route to exploitation and commercialization. We don't have a definition of subject matter experts, but I think through the answers to those questions in our competition document, I think if they're not coming across as really understanding the market and their technology, how that fits, how they can deliver against those innovation objectives through an integrated projects and project plan, then perhaps they're not sufficiently demonstrating their capabilities. That's how I would frame it, but we don't have a definition about subject matter experts. It's about the value of the innovation project, from my perspective, the value of the collaboration, the de-risking of the challenge around collaborating across the Atlantic, and the ultimate exploitation value and route to market. Those are the kind of key things, against, of course, those challenge areas that have just been outlined.
Great, thank you, Roger. Then another question regarding the expectation on the complementarity and coordination between the US and UK projects. So what is the expectation for that? So I think this is a really good question. I think the first thing is to find a project partner that makes sense and ensure that the UK applicant understands the UK competition in depth, what the eligibility criteria is, exactly what Innovate UK needs to see to support a project, and then ensure that the US applicant understands the NowRDC process, what NowRDC needs to see to award a project. And then I think from there, um, Roger and I were talking about this earlier, there's quite a lot of flexibility. So it could be a type of phased approach in which, say, the one half of the project, say the UK side, develops a project tasks 1 through 5, developing the technology in the earlier stage, then maybe it hands it off to the UK based to the US based applicant, and they take the project tasks 6 through 10, or it could be fully done in tandem, where both sides are working together the full step of the way. So as long as it's meeting the key eligibility criteria, the proposal evaluation criteria, altogether being a strong, valuable project, then I think from there it's up to you how you shape what that collaboration looks like. Then there's a question on if the proposal can contain elements of workforce training. Is workforce training considered in this solicitation? I would say that there are no hard rules around whether or not workforce training is eligible in this. I think we're really looking for proposals that provide a strong response to the challenge areas identified. So I think as long as you're, again, really reviewing the evaluation criteria and ensuring that the proposal responds to the challenge areas identified, that's the key thing to focus on. Workforce training is not, explicitly not allowed, just as long as that it's checking the boxes on all the other things explicitly identified as important. So another question, will it be possible to have multiple UK or US partners, such as a US national lab, a UK startup, and a UK or US developer? Yes, yeah, there are no requirements on our side around, the different numbers of applicants that can be in a project team. I think as long as you're pairing people based on what adds value to the project, and again, referring back to the RFP and what's listed as a strong project team, then you're absolutely eligible to have multiple UK or US partners, as long as you have one UK and one US partner at a baseline. Can a person or entity participate in more than one proposal submission with a different focus? Yes. Again, that's up to 3 different proposal submissions per person or entity. So a question regarding caps for each funding category in the RFP. So yeah, we've gone over how NowRDC has funding caps for each category. Roger, a quick question for you on whether Innovate UK has similar caps.
Thank you, Corey. No, we do not have any caps per project type, but a UK project, the overall cost for the UK project must be between £150,000 and £600,000.
Great. All right, I see we're about at time. So if we did not get to your question, please submit it via email to info@nationaloffshorewind.org. This is all listed on our website, so please submit any remaining questions by November 10th, and we'll post all answers to questions on our website. We'll also be posting again these slides and the recording of this webinar to our website as well. So if you want to refer back to anything that was discussed here today, thank you all so much for joining. Thank you, Roger, for speaking as well and helping answer these questions. We're really looking forward to the great proposals you all are going to submit. So please stay in touch and yeah, have a great rest of your days.
Thank you. Bye-bye.